Hello everybody, my name is Helen Joker. Here is a little side project I've been working on, and of course the voice is still gonna be Nemina fake. Hope you guys enjoy.
Soul of Darkness, Chapter 1. The Darkness Will Consume Us All. The moon was a crescent scythe in the sky, coating the battlefield in its crimson glow. Every marching stomp splashed the red mud onto gleaming metal. It was a procession of blood, humming with sounds of war. The soldiers were dressed in medieval-like armor. Thick plates of steel were plastered on their chest with an emblem of a burning dragon craned back in agony as if flames made it into charcoal. The soldiers themselves looked like they could crush a human skull with their bare fists. No fearsome glove bothered covering their hands, as the thick muscles were enough to strike terror. These soldiers weren't human. They seemed to be echoes of darkness. The loyal companions that trotted next to them were not echoes, but screams coming from the source of darkness. Canine in appearance, that was the last similarity to any creature alive. The shadows themselves came up and dressed these canines in wisps of their form, leaving only terror to imagine what was under the gauze of darkness. Across the battlefield, the strained faces of human troops could be seen. Armor was mismatched, rusted, or dinged. The crimson valley stretching before them was too massive for their slim numbers. They nestled in the middle, a small dot in rippling grass. They could only make 2 lines, their thoughts clear as red light cast upon them. This was their final stand, but was it worth it? Would it make a difference? The fear seemed to be blown with the wind, down all the way to the opposing army. The canine-like beasts jumped as if the scent reached them. The sight made a slight shaking go through the crowd, causing armor to clang like the bells of the church. The sound shattered the last shard of hope any of them held. The burning dragon troops stopped their march of blood as if by an invisible order, landing in an organized line as sharp as the blades on their backs. Reaching up in sync like no human could manage, they all ripped off their helmets, the light of the moon unable to grace the dark hide. The variety of features adorning their faces varied so widely, from demonic to canine like the beasts at their side. There was a creature for every fear a human could have, and some they could not imagine. Instinct told the human men to run. The jagged line of them became more pronounced. The only thing these creatures of darkness had in common was their inky black hides, the green eyes that pierced through any that gazed upon them. Before the humans had time to run from their reckoning, a man on a white stallion came galloping in front of the line. "Men, if we fall back, our town, our wives, our children will have no chance. Today we don't fight for freedom. Today we fight for the survival of our children. Today we cannot focus on ourselves. Today we must focus on others." His speech was cut off by the burning dragon troops running towards the line. The long, impossible shadows stretching before them casted the human leader in darkness, silencing his empty shouts. Without a thought, the hundreds of humans set up to stop the dark troops raised their weapons high above their heads, the crimson light catching the rusted steel. Shields stabbed the ground for leverage, the human men putting stiff shoulders against the cold leather interior. The dark troops discarded their helms for maces, lifting them up, the tall statures they all had letting them bring those maces down, breaking the shields in two. A concussive bang making the humans at back start to run. The loyal dark canines were easily the size of a single stallion on the field, yet twisted through the smallest holes in the line. Jaws opened to catch the flailing limbs of humans, the shredded teeth sinking into the flesh of humans they latched onto. Those that didn't run didn't believe they had hope. For every death, time was added. Time was added to wives, to children, to elderly. Time that let them get farther away from the massacre that could befall them if this dark army caught up. They were no longer human, or men. They were fodder that equaled time. The battlefield slowly became real blood, the crimson glow now reflecting to the moon. It seemed to drip with crimson tears as if mourning for those below. The last human to fall before the troops of the burning dragon was the leader of men. The blade he held high dripped with black blood. His armor was caked in it. Blonde hair, slick with sweat, swayed in his hateful gaze. He made no move to stop his white horse from rearing up, kicking away the foul creatures. He knew his fate wasn't to die today. The information he had was too valuable. No. He knew he would begin to hate the length of his existence. The force split as a seemingly female human walked through, her green eyes glistening in the soft red light of the moon. Her black hair swayed behind her. She hummed, "Humans, such selfish creatures, trying to make themselves out to be the victims, yet at the same time they don't care about slaughtering everyone else." Reaching out, she wiped away some of the black blood on one of the canine-like creatures, acting as if it were her pet. The leader cried as White Stallion stomped, "You eat us! You devour our souls! How does that not make you out to be a monster, you foul thing?" The woman seemed unfazed by the man's accusations, her focus on the injury that lay on the snout of her beast. Once the man began to shake with fury, she taunted, "You eat rabbits, yet you don't call yourselves monsters. Humans have such great sight, yet they are so blind. What a shame." With no warning, the burning dragon forces swarmed the blind leader. His screams could be heard for miles. The woman looked up at the moon, soaking in its red glow with closed eyes, the pale skin she wore lighting up under the glow. Slowly her eyes flickered open, the moon captured in her pupil. The soft pale lips she had stretched to reveal perfectly set teeth, speaking as if to another, "Humans deserve to die. Now time to wake up." "And the light conquered over the darkness, and the princess lived happily ever after with the prince." My eyes split open, the fuzzy red of my scarf almost blocking my view of the teacher. Moving slowly, I came out of the fog. My neck popped in pain. Looking up as if to check for the crimson moon, I only saw the plain tiles of the classroom. Registering the last words of the most recent fairy tale, I noticed I had slipped through the short story. I had heard the plain piece of literature since I was a kid, so I didn't care. The book closed with a mighty thud in my teacher's wrinkly fingers, as if to match the noise of the bell ringing. Instinct made us all reach for our bags and jackets, while I quickly clambered to my feet. The cold room made me stiff, so I twisted around like a top several times before another well-earned crack met my ears. Grabbing my binder, I paused at the happy image of all my best friends in the front of it. AC was in the middle with oxygen tubes and her small smile. My eyes hovered on the image, my mind grasping at the memory of her laugh, no matter how wheezy. She had gone missing a couple months ago with no trace, no goodbyes, and no note. Shaking my head in hopes to be rid of the sadness I felt deep in my heart, I tried to focus on other matters. Mrs. Kurtz yelled out, her voice shaking in old age, "All right, students, make sure to read the next fairy tale. We are going to have a discussion on it once the heat is fixed. And Lilith, please refrain from calling this one hogwash again." The sigh that escaped me swirled like smoke. The weather had been bad this winter, and the heat went out halfway through the day, thus no school tomorrow. It might be a good thing with all the disappearances lately. I turned on the balls of my feet to look at Mrs. Kurtz, the door opening behind me to cast a shadow over her. "It's Lily, and yes, Mrs. Kurtz, though I don't see the point in reading these books, it's spooning us half-baked lies and telling the girls to wait for a prince to save them. Can't we read something with more substance? The dream I just had was more entertaining." Mrs. Kurtz looked all happy on the outside, but by the way she was clutching the book with withered fingers, she wanted to give me detention. Before that could be done, I darted out of the room. Maybe telling her wasn't bright, but I was eager to get the strange dream off my chest. It was too vivid. I had never seen torn flesh, but I was betting it couldn't be far off from what I saw. White lights made me near blind as the school courtyard stretched before me. 2 buildings were almost completely wrapped around the small bush-filled garden in all their tan glory, excluding a small exit where banners hung. The snow chased away the contrast that hung around usually. The lack of the shadow made me remember the dream, causing an involuntary shiver. Looking back, I saw just how dark the room was, making me step quickly away. Icy snow crashed right into my face as I twirled around. A stinging feeling zapped all the way to my toes. My chestnut hair started to look like salt and pepper as more snowballs were targeted at me, making my vision twirl as reality moved too quick. My head began to imitate a bobblehead as I tried to look forward to catch the figure exacting this stupid game. The second I caught sight of similar chestnut hair, I screeched, trying to wipe the snow off now that my hands worked. I get it, Tori, you like the snow, now just quit it! A high-pitched squeal of laughter echoed through the courtyard, scaring off all the crows. The crows flew right over me, and a single feather fell off the lead bird. The feather floated down like a graceful shadow, landing right in my hands. The feather was almost perfect. None of the little strands were clumped together, and it was almost like silk. The woman in my dreams seemed to fill my mind's eye. When she stared up, it was like she looked at me, something I hadn't realized before. She seemed like the feather, so graceful, yet represented something sinister. I was so transfixed by the feather, and the woman, that I didn't notice Tori stomping forward. Her hand appeared out of nowhere, and slapped the feather right out of mine. Her yell grated my ears, shaking my mind of its thoughts. "Lily, don't touch that thing! It could carry diseases! And our parents taught us that crows only bring evil because they are such dark creatures. Why are you so... what's the word? Absent!" Brows arching down, I gave a soft glare as I moved forward to leave the courtyard, and hopefully the dream behind. My sister, she's always quoting Mom and Dad for one reason or another, only using this strategy against me. It seemed that our parents liked her company better, because my mom is always eager to hang out with her and not me. Being honest with myself, I really did hate shopping. My dad, he is always busy with political work. I don't really see him too often, so I can't tell who he likes better. All these facts I was accustomed to, but it meant I couldn't tell them about my dream. I definitely couldn't tell Tori. She simply wasn't mature enough. Tori and I were identical twins. I have brown hair, she has brown hair. I have blue eyes, she has blue eyes. I'm 5'7", she's 5'7". Down to even a strand of hair, we are identical. That didn't mean our minds were similar, and she liked her immaturity too much to follow me. With this in mind, it didn't make me wonder why I wasn't trusted by my parents. Tori tugged at my hand, her nails digging in, making me wince. Roughly pulling me along like I was some sort of dog, she began to chat like a chipmunk. "We are taking the short route today, so that I can go on my date with John from chemistry, so I need to get home quick to do my hair." Red flags fired up as the route home required going through the forest, since our town of Blemeth is in a C shape. The buses took about 30 minutes to get to our house, but in the snow that might extend to an hour. That is why walking through the forest is quicker, because it's as the crow flies. My high-top shoes sunk in the snow as it got thicker after leaving the courtyard. No one bothered or wanted to plow away into the forest with what had been happening recently. A laminated sign was even half buried as we walked the way to the forest. I could make out the words, "Use bus." Tori didn't even try to heed the suggestion, just kept trudging forward as I was lost in thought. If I tried to fight her on this, she would pull that Mom made her in charge always. They trusted her more. It might be my silence that caused them to question me more, or the fact that my bad luck led me to being caught more when I screwed up. As the forest loomed ahead, the articles I had read bubbled up. People kept going missing in the forest, and only starting this month. Before it had been perfectly safe. Now, no one knew what was happening in dark depths. Funny that Mom moved us away from Portland because of AC's disappearance, and the fear she felt. The information from the articles came spilling out. Wait, we're going into the forest that has a total of 3 people missing inside it in just the last week, not to mention the 10 the week before?
Thank you so much for joining us.